But what about the 50 other teams that end up over at Rangers Ruin throughout the course of the game?
That's what it feels like.
They realize how this fight goes, and typically it might be left to just one person trying to clutch up. As Fradoxy gets that first sweeper shotgun, it's going to work out perfectly. Chicho goes down. Tayson follows next. That's back-to-back eliminations, but Chino's going to go down. That's going to give them an opportunity back, and if you notice, Fradoxy has no more ammo in his shotgun, and Riz is trying to take advantage of that fact. He finally picks up a few, but the damage has already been done. Riz with only 3 HP, and Pablo and Fradoxy on the other side are at least a duo, a strong duo at that, and they have a chance here to end the fight, and they do so with ease.
I want to believe, but when Pablo is just that healthy, the outcome is basically inevitable. Fradoxy, Chino, and Pablo Wingo will play out the duration of Lobby 6, and this time it was so fast that Brazil likely won't be able to stroll on over and try to play spoiler.
I mean, I did see in the feed, there was a team that was going in that direction. They saw the fight end in the feed. They said, you know what, maybe next game, maybe tomorrow we'll do this.
Let me the other way.
Yeah, but you see what's going down here right now. They actually chose to split the drop. Toyota, Yume, and Raisei are going to take the top side of Canyon. That comes with the swarm. That comes with a little bit of XP. But Vico, Flixie, and Veno, they're taking actual Canyons crossing. There's a little bit more loot over here for them. And they said, hey, things haven't been going our way in the actual fight. Let's actually try to play some of these games out. And even last game, they did that exact thing, and it worked out. You saw them win that game.
There's still a leaderboard that teams want to play for prizing, Jacob. Even if it might not necessarily be a threat to first, or even the top 3 in general, it's still opportunity for life-changing money, right? And Epic Whale, Paper, Victor V, they're looking to tackle Razzle, Tate, and Raito. They had primary control of Dystopia City. They have pushed Raito's team towards the edge, but Epic Whale still needs to try and connect another shot here. He knows that Paper is gonna have that overhead sightseeing, and Razzle, not a whole lot of materials, but Paper just trying to stay on top of this fire, just trying to see if he can apply more pressure for Victor V to capitalize on.
Yeah, my eyes initially peeked at Shining Span where Cammy lands. I saw them, but now you saw Ritual in the distance as Wox being in Malibuca. They're taking the fight on over. That's Aspect's team, and Aspect was the one that was landing towards the Kappa Kappa factory. So you're already seeing they're changing up their game plan. They're trying to steal away some loot away from Malibuca and Wox, but that's not something you want to do at all.
And Malibuca, Wox being more than happy to try and collect whatever opportunities come their way. They're willing to try and generate these occurrences themselves, and they are just chasing these teams way out to the outskirts. This is a big commitment, but if they find the eliminations, it's all worth it.
I like what they're doing here. They're just trying to trust in each other for the most part. One's going to go on over, try to see if they can find him, which it doesn't look like they do. They immediately turn back. It's not worth it in their heads to go for it as Peterbot finally makes his position known along with Ritual and Cold, and they immediately jump onto Paper. He was positioned on top of that with his building. Tagging that team down below, was not watching his back, and that's exactly what's going to do him in the end. You see Victor V looking like the only player left alive for his team. He's just trying to disengage and at least try to give him a chance to get back on up.
But it's the fact that Victor V is still left standing. Bit tragic. The Paper Epic Whale, they just never saw it coming. The Crash Pad Fizz combination a little bit too potent here, and Paper punished for that overhead position and not keeping tabs of what's flying through the sky after him.
Honestly, depending on where the zone goes, is gonna help their chances or hurt them for Victor V, trying to get his entire team back into the game. We kind of saw more and more teams throughout the day kind of move over into this position, and that's going to remain the same. One all the way towards the north. Tisco and his trio, literally inside of Rangers Ruin as well, but they're positioned above. And then Fradoxy, who obviously knows where that team's at, where they're positioned, and he's at least trying to shoot off shots in their direction with that Stinger SMG, so he knows it's not going to get a ton of damage, but anything's better than nothing.
And Fradoxy, Pablo, and Gino have just been playing whack-a-mole all day long. It's like the moment they take out one team, they still got to deal with another one popping up from seemingly nowhere, and Pablo still working through the lobby. Grise and Coyota going to be victims at the other end of that shotgun barrel, but Yuma still trying to do what he can to pick up the pieces here. It was a nice knock onto Gino. Unfortunately, the 1 versus 2 situation, that's just so hard to convert into a victory there. So they're going to be put down temporarily, but things are getting messy here in the south side.
Yeah, this is not where I expect Benno and Vico and Flixie to kind of end up, going all the way towards the south side of the map. That's given Alex and Resigns an opportunity to get the early surge, steal away some of this loot. And you can see what Benno, he has really no other choice. He knows the full team is all around, and a third party closed off into the distance. Even with 69 HP, he does have some extra shields, but he doesn't want to give away his position with those audio visuals. Alex finally found him out, and the full team is wiped off from Victory Royale to 30th place.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where Benno tries to go after that. Alex, Resigns, and Anon, we're never going to let them leave this vicinity. It's just way too primed up of a chance, and they're not going to come by often, but still, Alex, Resigns, got to keep open eyes on the map because Mixin and Focus, they might just have a chance to shut down everything that Alex just worked to accomplish. But Alex spots him out through the window, and Alex not going to be able to get that shot just yet, but still, the damage has been done. Focus, Mixin, they're bailing.
Yeah, and they're only a duo. That's basically giving away your position for Alex and Resigns to make that decision. Do we fight it? Do we beat him on towards the mountain priority position? What's more important here? And I honestly like their decision to close out the day, play a little bit more aggressive, try to get more points, and already they get the knock onto Focus. Now they're in a 3v1 situation, and they're already spotting Mixin on the other side. He tries to go for the 1v1, the 50-50, and it's so quick. Alex, Resign, and Anand, they get their 4th elimination of the game.
And look, the leaderboard might be telling one story, but the real narrative is that Oshi's got some real fighting power with Alex, Resigns, and Anon. And it's unfortunate that they just haven't had anybody to really get their surge in, so it's just been so difficult for them to actually traverse every single one of their rotates, if they even make it off of their initial drop in the first place. But it's been a completely different story, as we all know, for Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache. They have been titans of this lobby, and even with Merstache being knocked, no problem whatsoever, because they're not going to be keyed anytime soon. It's just not worth the effort from the team that they're trading blows with. They know it's way too dangerous to actually make that trek.
And it's almost kind of like having me ask myself the question in my head for Vortex, Goofy, and Mountain. When do you stop targeting Queasy and his entire trio on the other side? Because even though that's helping them get some Storm Surge, it's helping Queasy, Merstache, and Swizzy a lot more, and they're bringing it much further on into the game. In the feed, Arc taking down one of the members of OCE Power's team, Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. Because of their early aggression, they're able to get the Queen out of Dystopia City and immediately make their way on over towards that vault, where they're not only able to have that mythic AR, but they have the exotic as well.
And while we are seeing some mild forms of success currently for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, the big thing to keep in mind here, Jacob, is that for a lot of these international teams and just other teams in the lobby in general, it can be very difficult to really find an opening. And you know, you're talking about Goofy and Mountain and what they're capable of, and is this even worth taking the battle? But they're in a pick your poison situation. They're so far northwest, their only options are Buzz, Mr. Savage, or Queasy. And they just keep landing on Queasy every time, while King and Phaser try to recover this battle up against Chino, Pablo, and Prodoxy.
Ooh, almost landed that good shot, but King, honestly, watching him throughout the season, when it comes to this double pump, it packs so much of a punch. He has Prodoxy and Chino on the slivers of HP, but unfortunately, the bait and switch comes through yet again. Pablo, knowing his teammates are weak, takes charge, gets that elimination onto King, leaving Phaser by himself. But it's so early on in the game, Taco. Third zone, one tick. Even though he has only one med kit, I'm not too worried because they're going to have to rotate out of that position.
Look, we know that King is good at fighting, but in this lobby right now, Pablo has just been better with everyone that he stumbled across, and that kind of performance can carry them a long way. It's starting to feel a little reminiscent, Jacob, of that early performance that they had to start this day off. 85 points secured in one lobby. And who's to say they couldn't do it again?
Yep, you can see Zedief and Panzer have taken the most storm damage of all teams. With the way some of these games have been going, not too surprised. Zone moving towards the north in a couple of games, all the way towards the west. They land at Kappa Kappa. They have a contested fight, and then so many other teams along the way, they almost have no other choice, especially since this has been a huge part of their strategy when it comes to these surge bases, and they have that abundance of extra HP, so it's no worries.
But the conversation that's been building between the SETI Cammy breakup and looking at both of these separate trios having so much consistent success that they are both within our top 5 here in day 1. There's a real chance for Seti and Cammy to try and see, you know, who is really the problem. And right now, based off their performances, Jacob, I don't think either of them were. I think they were both just ready for a switch up.
I know when we talk about like some teams just forming, you know how they sometimes hit that honeymoon phase? What a perfect time for them to hit that phase and keep that consistency going. Coming together, qualifying in Major 3, and really taking that opportunity, just that chance to play at the Global Championship and running away with it. Same with Vanya, Marius, and Pixie. They get their drop spot uncontested. And honestly, whether it's contested or not, we saw Cold and his trio try to go ahead and make that their home, but that was quick work for them off that 50-50 drop off the side of the mountain, where you're seeing a lot of our top teams here, how they're rotating with the zone pulling towards the south. A lot of them are beating other teams to the punch. They're not taking that crowded position in towards the zone.
But this is really nice for Clix, Higgs, and Yamza as they continue to press forward because they're approaching that mountain range overhead of Foxy Floodgates. They're coming from that north side position, pushing south. They're going to have that little bit of elevation to work with, and we've even got a nice little listening to see what Clix is getting up to.
Yeah,
They're in streaming.
yeah, look at them.
We
Look at
should
this.
shoot.
3, 2, 1. 30.
Nice.
Go. Let's go. Let's class,
No,
please.
no. We full greet them.
I like it, I like it, I like it. They got the damage. And Higgs, for a moment, was like, hey, let's go. Let's pick up the elimination. Let's go and go for more. But they realized they're at the top side of the leaderboard. They don't have to take any unnecessary risk to close out the day. This is game 6 out of 12. So we got 6 more games tomorrow. And so honestly, for a lot of these teams, you just want to get as close to Queasy, Merstash, and Swizzy as possible so we have a chance tomorrow.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstash, Jacob, because while they're here tackling Brazil, PH, Zen, Phaser already not. That's going to be the eliminations there. Excuse me, that's going to be King instead, but Jacob, so much damage having been done there. And Queasy now on the back foot. He's actually going to have to depend on Merstash and Swizzy to close this one out because Chino, Prodoxy, Pablo, they've now entered this battlefield. And Prodoxy, he doesn't seem interested in leaving anytime soon.
This is a blessing. This is a blessing for the entirety of the lobby, not just for Doxy, Pablo, and Chino here in this situation. You take them down, and I like taking matters into your own hands because 4th place, 1st place, 1st place, 1st place, 2nd place for Queasy and them off the top of the leaderboard. You cannot expect them to go down early. Sometimes you have to do things yourself. Phaser might not even know that there's a whole trio up above, but he might not have the HP. Storm Sickness is a possibility. He might have no other choice but to move into this trio.
It's just witnessing what Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino are able to accomplish when they finally have an opportunity to make it off spawn, Jacob. They've had to deal with so much action throughout every single one of these lobbies here today, and yet they are still managing to manifest these opportunities for themselves.
You can see they're even so close to Pix, Darm, and Demus, who are playing out of their minds, not just here, but all year long. And you can see the zone moving over towards Demons Debris, them and a bunch of other teams. They're kind of setting up. They're not necessarily going for high ground. They feel like they have enough surge to make that not necessarily a worry, but they're just trying to go over towards those mountains just in case we get one of those max pulls towards the west, which I do like thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, even though it's relatively early. The 4th zone, you sometimes, with the way this finals has been going, you want to prioritize your rotation and your overall positioning.
But Pixstar and Demas, they're just so central right now. They're not really feeling too much pressure to leave just yet. And they're also having to monitor Pixie, Vanya, Marius directly next to them. So it's not like it'd be an easy rotation just yet either. But Mr. Savage, Reason, they're trying to see what they can do up against the likes of Disco and Gadu, but Striker might just be looking to try and hold him down, but Reason, nice chunk of HP there. It's gonna go missing from Gadu. Reason now on the ropes, so he's not gonna be able to break away. Mr. Savage trying to provide coverage fire. Right side peek, a little bit in his favor, but Gadu still relatively healthy in comparison to Savage.
He does have 6 different crash pads. He does have the Flowberry Fizz. But does he have the reboot cards, and does he have a chance to get them? For Tisco and Kadu, they're in a very, very similar spot, but not as drastic. Only Striker is down. so they are going to be a duo in this situation, not too far away from the overall zone. So they too, if they have that reboot card, they can immediately move on over towards Rangers Ruin to try to get that reboot back, and that's exactly what they want to do. Savage has no other choice but go the other direction towards Foxy Floodgates, which is good because now he has a chance for the reboot, but he's moving closer and closer to other teams while being almost 300 damage below the threshold.
But that's the problem. He's so low on his surge damage, and even with a successful reboot, hold that thought though, Pollo finally seeming to get a nice elimination here onto Kazi, and that kicking open the doorway. They need some kind of catalyst because they've had a very scrambly day so far.
Second time's the charm. Second time is the charm, but they're deep in the zone, not a lot of heals. Phaser and King are both relatively low. You gotta hope they have something, but they have nothing. Phaser's gonna be the first one to drop. PHN realize I cannot be the hero. I have to go. He has no heals either. Even though this is a one tick, he has about 50 seconds on the clock to either find elimination or find any sort of heals, bandages, anything.
Oh man, Merstash, does he realize what's behind him? But PA Zen, if he gets the jump onto Merstash, that could be very problematic still. Merstash at least has Swizzy and Queasy and a good replenish, but Merstash knows it's cooked from this point. He can't press forward any longer. Maybe there's a reboot later.
Got the down onto Merstash. I don't even know how he was the last one to do damage. PHN did not know where Merstash was, and even if he did, he wouldn't have gotten the siphon, but he had heals. Merstash being down now leaves Queasy and Swizzy with a decision. Do we go back into zone? Do we get our teammate back up because no man left behind, or do we continue on as a duo?
Right now, all I'm thinking about is what Fredoxy, Pablo, and Chino are getting up to, Jacob, because they're really starting to make a tear into this lobby. Garu, Tisco, slight pause here. They pick up Striker, bring him back into the mix. Not a whole lot of resources available for some of these teams, though, that are just hugging the outskirts right now. It's been so many hiccups across the way. But Clixie, Yamzo, and Higgs, they've still managed to find their footing on the side of the mountain face at Canyon Crossing.
Yeah, now they're positioned right next to Kanata. That's the knock they got earlier, where they were able to kind of accumulate a good amount of surge. Now they look towards the bottom side of that mountain. Balor, Mansour, and Adapter are the ones that are taking a lot of that focus, and they're inching closer and closer to Gabzera, Scarpa, and Way as well. Kanata knows and sees all the same things along with Rapid and Bolts, if he is still there. And they're all kind of targeting off the side of the mountain, just trying to take advantage of every team that's a little bit too slow to rotate.
It's just so dangerous to go for some of these half-wall edits, the window edits. You peek too long, you might find yourself getting picked off along the way. But right now, Marius, Pixie, Vanya, all they're focusing on is how to find the best success in this last lobby. Doesn't matter how you start, what matters is how you finish, and that goes for day one here at the Global Championship.
That stat was crazy. Even though they're at the top of the leaderboard, they've taken more damage than they've dealt. But that just goes to show, like, how risky they're willing to play in order to get those eliminations, in order to be able to stay alive and build up that Storm Surge. As I see Arc taking out Alex, Anon's gonna get taken down by School. Not sure if OCE is still alive, but NA West trying to bring themselves back into this. And just by the looks of it, zone pulling so far away, Queasy, Swizzy, they realize there's no chance to get Merstash back into the game, so we have to make our numbers count.
But without Merstash, Queasy recognizes, hey, I'm gonna have to shift into gear and bring to light what kind of fragging capability I might actually be able to unleash, because some of these other teams that are just doing everything in their power to try and play catch up, you can never discredit what they might be able to accomplish. For Doxy, Chino, Pablo lurking at the very bottom of it all. They've got so much surge already. They can play fully for positioning, but Cold, Ritual, Peterbot, they are looking rough right now. They still have a good chunk of resources to actually bring their HP back up, but they're still just in such a tight position, and no one is even backing down. All day long, teams have been openly embracing the fight with Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual.
Yeah, drop spot aside, this is a game with the loot and the loadout that he has. You really have to make it count. Teddy Apko and Panzer, 678 above the damage threshold. They may not know Resigns is getting ticked by Storm Surge, but if they were close by, they could probably hear the shields crack as Victor V is close by as well. I did see a couple of his teammates go down in the feed. I don't know if he's entirely a solo, but hey, it's Vic. Oh, well, no, that wasn't my fault, Taco. That wasn't my fault.
Okay, Aussie.
That was Ozzy. He's doing a watch party upstairs. It's definitely Ozzy's fault.
Oh, for Doxy, though, on the other end, he's actually got a glimpse of Queasy up in the skies. Queasy, having been spotted out, he knows this is trouble. We've got to start maybe working our way down. This is not the spot to be, but Gino, Pablo, Doxy, they don't care. They're looking to fully collapse. They see that Queasy is weakened, and they've actually completely overthrown the ultimate high ground position. But the fact that Queasy and Swizzy are still alive, Jacob, it's still the potential for placement points to keep building. Yeah,
this is almost looking like a full circle moment, because remember, it was Doxy, Pablo, and Gino the one that even took down Mustache in the first place and put him in such a rough spot overall, and they really haven't been able to recover from it since. Take a look at some of the action going down around the lobby. Kanata just taking matters into his own hands. The first knock, that was easy. The second one somehow was easier, and now Kanata's looking to pressure that third elimination. And that's something big for them, because you can see he's all by himself, still taking pressure, still taking damage from all directions, and quickly running out of builds.
But if it resembles a shotgun, Ganada can still max it out, and that's all he's looking for. A couple of Flowberry Fizzes still left at his disposal. Seti, rather weakened, but his trio mates still way too healthy. Panzer and Yapko can just overtake that part responsibility here. Panzer now holding down the walls. Hoyo, Agers, Acorn directly underneath. The elevation shifts can be brutal, but for Gino, Pablo, and Ferdoxy, all above it all, they have no issues whatsoever, which is suppressing these lower teams.
This is our time right here to move up that leaderboard and hopefully maybe even get into the top 5, especially being contested by not only Tayson, but as that fight ends, so many other teams moving over in that direction as well. Marius, Pixie, and Vanya, this is one of the teams that they have to potentially go through as well. As you're seeing, Vanya get another elimination onto Mountain. That's their second one overall. 254 above the damage threshold. They're not focusing on taking any fights that they don't have to. Yamzo clicks, they both fall. Storm Surge is a huge thing that's taking them all out as the full trio's back to the lobby. Now Acorn's pressuring in. Marius sees him coming from a mile away. He goes up and over, dunking on him yet again. Now it's him versus Boyo. Zone's gonna finish the job. Marius with back-to-back eliminations.
Marius did such an excellent job at just pushing them fully back. That is a huge come up here as Agers now forced to try and see if he can bring it together. But Marius, he's just not slowing down anytime soon. Just continuing to barrel his way forward inside of the mid-ground layers. Ferdoxy, Pablo, Chino with height in their control. I just don't see a way for anybody else to actually jump up towards them anytime soon, and Chino just continues to spray all those teams making their way towards the front side of zone.
And they even reinforced it on their way on over, patiently waiting for the zone to pull. It's going to work out in their favor for the most part. And you see Pablo right now, he's the one building their top on over because he has the double pump. Letting his teammates put pressure down from above is a huge part of their game plan. As they're 257 above, Swizzy, he has taken down Peterbot, their third elimination of the game, and they're cruising inside of the top 12. This is what I'm talking about. You cannot expect this team to just go down without a fight.
It's the boost of materials that they have to work with too. Yapko recognizing directly overhead. He doesn't have an opportunity here. Wixie on the other end of his wall. Yapko going to be forced to layer swap here. He is dropping to ultimate low, but he has hardly anything left to work with here, Jacob. Backside of zone. Anyone, it might just be Ping who comes up upon Yapko, but instead it's gonna be Marius, Pixie, Vanya. Now looking to play spoiler to these teams in the mid-ground. Marius just continue to tear away at everybody's HP.
Yeah, that double pump, and he's putting it to use. Arm is down in the outside of the zone. Marius is gonna clean that one up. Couple more points, push them further and further closer to Queasy, who's still alive, by the way. Yapko is solo. He's just trying to get the most out of this as possible. Only 5 on the med miss, no extra builds, scrambling around, trying to catch somebody off guard, but it's he who falls to Pixie.
Chino, Pablo, and Ferdoxy still in the high ground. Swizzy and Queasy now working through ultimate low. This is a night and day difference for loadouts, but Swizzy still trying to bring it all together. He only has 5 builds, but he has to take a chance to heal, and Queasy picks it up where he left off. Eliminations onto Tisco now means that Queasy has some material to work with, and Marius, he's tarping his way through, but he might just run smack down Squeezy is at, not to mention Proxy, Pablo, Gino overhead.
This is a good moment for all the players down low. They're distracted up above, but not too distracted. They drop down. Surprise attack coming from above. Down goes Squeezy. Pixie's gonna follow as well. Vanya's now by himself. He gets taken down by Gino. Pablo, Tino, they're the only two alive for the team from high ground to low. They're trying to take the fight to Demas, and that one is gonna be solidified. And a much-needed Siphon comes in just in time. A 2v1 situation, and it's Pix. He's so far out of zone, and the last medkit has already been used. A last desperation attempt to make his way into the zone, and it does not work. Proxy, Pablo, and Gino take the game.
They knew that they were going to need an insane performance to close out the day. It's been a bit of a scuffle here, Jacob, but finding this victory royale in the final hour of day one, that could be the ultimate difference maker, starting things off in day two. First and foremost, though, we gotta see